The first thing we want to do here is add or subtract the following. So we have a bunch of mixed numbers. So we have 2 and 1/6 added to 4 and 2/6. So what we need to do is break these up so that we're going to add the whole numbers together and add the fractions together separately. Because these are like denominators, we can just add the fractions together. So they're going to come out as 3/6 because we only add our numerator. And then when we add our whole numbers together, we're going to get 6 and 3/6. And if we were to simplify that, we could write it as 6 1/2. Either one of these two answers would be acceptable. Over here, we're going to do a similar thing where we're going to add the whole numbers together and we're going to add our fractions together. So when we do that, we're going to get 6 and 6/8. If you wanted to simplify that, you could write it as 6 and 3/4. Following along in that vein, only this time we're doing subtraction. We have 7 and 3/4 minus 3 and 2/4. This time we have unlike fractions, so we're going to have to do something a little bit different. We're going to have to convert them so that they have like denominators. I made a mistake. They have the same denominators. They are just written differently on my screen. So I have 7 and 3/4 minus 3 and 2/4, and my pen has decided to go haywire. 7 and 3/4 minus 3 and 2/4. So same thing, I'm just going to subtract my whole numbers and subtract my fractions, and I'm going to get 4 and 1/4. And I cannot simplify that any further. Same thing here, subtracting my whole numbers, I'm going to get 4, subtract my fractions, and I'm going to get 2/8. I could simplify that to 4 and 1/8, or 4 and 1/4, sorry. This time all I want to do is estimate the sum or difference, and I need to explain how I came up with the answer. Okay, so I know that this one, I can just estimate what my whole numbers are going to be here. So I'm going to have 2 and 5/5, which is the same as 3, and all I did was look at it and add my numbers together here. Same thing over here, I know I'm going to have 2 and 5/8, and I can do it so quickly that I'm basically estimating, so that's going to be about 2 1/2. So all I'm doing is my subtraction, and I'm kind of estimating, but with numbers like this, with like denominators, I can just look at it and do it in my head that quickly. So if you have something close to that and a reason why you did it, give yourself a mark. Simplify by dividing off the common factor between the numerator and the denominator. That sounds scary, but all I need to do is find whatever number I can divide both the top and the bottom by, whatever I can divide my numerator and my denominator by. The factor both these have in common is 7. So I'm going to divide them both by 7, and I'll get 1/3. Here's a little bit harder. So I know that 32 is a common factor of these, and I can divide just by 32, and I know I'm going to get 1/2. If I can't look at it and see that 32 is a common factor, I see they're both even numbers, so I could divide by 2. And if I do that, I'm going to get 16/32. And then I know, again, 4 and 2 are both common factors, so I could divide by 2 again to get 8/16, and I can do that again to get 4/8 until I get 1/2. So if I can't see immediately that 32 is a common factor, I can go step by step until I can't break it down any further. Okay, so 1/2 and 1/3 are my answers there. I can add or subtract fractions with unlike denominators. So this time, I can't just add because my bottom number is the same. Think of it like a pie chart, right? If I have this one's broken into fifths, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one here is broken into sevens. It's hard to add them together and see what they are, so I have to split them up so they're equal. So I have to find a number that I can divide both of these by, and I know that's going to be 35. So I'm going to times this one by 7 and this one by 5, and I have to do that to both the top and the bottom. So then I'm going to get 7/35 plus 10/35, and I know that's going to give me 17 over 35. So that's going to be my answer, and I had to convert these so that they had a like denominator. Explain the steps involved with unlike denominators. Step 1, find a common denominator. Once I've done that, all I need to do is add or subtract. Simple. Solve the following. 2 and 3 over quarters minus 1 and 2 over thirds. Same thing here, I need to find a common denominator. So here, that's going to be 12. So I'm going to multiply this fraction by 3 and this one by 4, but I'm going to leave my whole numbers alone. So here I'm going to get 2 and 9 over 12 minus 1 and 8 over 12. When I do that, I'm going to get 1 and 1/12. Okay? Find your common denominator. Explain how I'm able to add, subtract mixed numbers with unlike denominators, same as I did before. Find a common denominator. Same as the other one. Draw a diagram for the following statement. So here I'm going to have 1, 2, 3. I'm going to shade them in. And 2/3. See, I broke that into 3, and I know that 2 of them are going to be filled in. And I'm going to be subtracting 2 and 1/4. Okay, so then all I need to do is work on this. I can cross my 2 whole ones out, and then once I break these up, I'm going to have to go to 12ths again, and I know that this is going to be 8 over 12, and that this one is going to be 3 over 12, and then I'm going to get 1 and 5/12. Because I'm left with 1 here and 5/12 once I do this subtraction. So you had to have drawn a picture for both. My best friend in class missed yesterday's lesson, and he answered 1 over 2 minus 2 over 6 equals 2 over 12. He multiplied. He should not have multiplied, he should have subtracted. And he multiplied because he had an unlike denominator, so he got confused, okay? So what he should have done is 1/2 minus 2/6, found a common denominator. I only have to multiply this one by 3 top and bottom, and we're going to get 3 over 6 minus 2 over 6 equals 1/6. There's my answer. Subtract, write the answer in lowest terms. Same thing here, I have 2 and 5/14 minus, multiply both these by 2, 12 over 14. Now I have to borrow from my whole number here. This is something new that we haven't talked about. So I'm going to borrow from this. I'm going to turn it into a mixed number. So I'm going to be left with 1 and 19/14. And all I did was take this 1 and turn it into 14 and add it to my total, minus 12 over 14. I'm going to be left with 1 and 7/14, or 1 and 1/2. And we'll review all this in class if you haven't seen this before. Next, Thomas needs 7/8 of a bag of nails to finish building his treehouse. He currently has 3/8 of a bag. His brother Michael gives him another 2/8 of a bag. Does Thomas have enough nails to finish his treehouse? If not, how much more does he need? So this number here, 7/8, is what we're trying to get to. We currently have 3/8 and 2/8. So what we need to do is create an addition problem using these fractions, and we know that between what he already has and what his brother gave him, we just add our numbers across the top, and we have 5/8. Remembering our denominator doesn't change. Well, we need 7/8 of a bag in total, so that means that we're going to need 2/8 of a bag more. And the way I could find that out, if I wasn't sure from looking at it, I know that I need 7/8. I already have 5/8, so I do my subtraction. I know that I'm going to have 2/8 left required. So when we come back, I want you to give yourself 1 mark for knowing that we need 2/8 more, 1 mark for knowing that we need 5/8 currently. Following shape is divided into 3 fractions. Write a subtraction sentence if the shaded triangle represents the difference. Okay, so this needs a few different, we have a few different pieces here. But so it's divided into 3 fractions currently. Write a subtraction sentence if the shaded triangle, which would be this black part here because that's a triangle, represents the difference. Well, remember that the difference means it's going to be our answer. So the first thing we need to do is break this up into some kind of common denominator format here. So if I take my shape and I divide it across, you can see I have 6 pieces here. So we start off, right, subtract if the shaded represents the difference, meaning the answer. So I know whatever I equal is going to be 1/6. I can subtract whatever I like, but I might as well take this other shaded part up here, and I'm going to subtract 3/6, so I know that. Oh, sorry. In order to accomplish that, I'm going to need 4/6 minus 3/6 equals 1/6. Okay, so give yourself a mark if you wrote some kind of equation. It doesn't need to be exactly these numbers, but this does need to be your answer here. Replace the question mark with a fraction to make the equation true, and write your own word problem to represent the equation. So I have 2 and 5/4 minus question mark equals 1/2. So first of all, I have to make this true. I know that I'm going to be another way to write this. I'm just going to convert it to fourths, so I have my common denominator here. So I could write 2 and 5/4 minus blank equals 2/4. Now I just multiply both these by 2. So I know that I'm going to need to subtract my 2 whole numbers, as well as I'm going to need to get rid of 3 of these guys, so I could do 3/4. So 2 and 3/4 would be one way I could write it, or I could do 2 and 5/4 minus 4, 8, 11. I could subtract 11/4, and borrowing from this whole number would give me 2/4. Either one of those is right. And create my own word problem. It could be something as simple as I have 2 and 5/4 bag of sand. When I'm driving down the highway, 2 and 3/4 of the bags of sand blow out of the back of my truck. How much sand am I left with? Well, it'll be 2/4. Give yourself a mark if you got the answer and made some attempt at a word problem. So now we just have to go back, and we need to take a look at what all these are worth. So this one's out of 1. You should have given yourself a mark already. This one's out of 1. You should have given yourself a mark already. This one here is out of 2. And remember, it was 1 for having 5/8, 1 for knowing that you need 2/8 more. Out of 1 for finding the correct answer. This is out of 1 for finding the correct answer. That's when this was also, this was part of this, the word problem, so there's no mark for this part of your question. But this one here is out of 2 for 1 mark for drawing the diagram and 1 mark for finding the correct answer. I need 1 mark here for knowing that I need to find a common denominator. 1 mark here and we'll give you the mark for the correct answer. Another mark here for the correct answer. 1 mark here for finding the correct answer. 2 marks here, and it was 1 mark for each, 1 for finding 1/3, 1 for finding 1/2, or it could be 4/8, so you don't need to simplify it. 2 marks here, 1 for each again. 2 marks here for the correct answer, and 2 marks here for the correct answer. So that gives us a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 marks total. So on the front of your page, give yourself a mark out of 20 based on how you did on your pre-test.